Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. And breathe. If it's the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. Spurs will be playing Premier League football next season. Their safety is secured with a 1-0 win over Everton on the final day. The only team Tottenham Hotspur have beaten home and away in the Premier League this season as they finished 17th for 2 consecutive seasons. They finish on 41 points in what's been, I think everybody out there knows, a very difficult, traumatic season on Last Word on Spurs. I just want to open by saying thank you ever so much to the thousands that listen and watch this show and the amount of support that we've had, not over this year, over this season, but the 8 years that we're doing this. I want to say my thanks to all the contributors that give up so much of their personal time to give to this show. It's my thanks to them. It's my love to them. And you know what? It does mean after 14 years in the Premier League, West Ham United are relegated. They're gone. They will have to start again. And what it is for Tottenham, you would like to think, you would hope to think so, is a severe, massive warning that it could and maybe should have been us, but we do survive. And when you think Roberto De Zerbi, the job Roberto De Zerbi has done at this football club, you know, given the fact that he was running onto the pitch to celebrate at full time, he was animated when Spurs got their opening goal of the game. What he's delivered, I think the guy deserves a statue. When you consider the mess he inherited from Thomas Frank at the start of the season, and then Igor Tudor midway through the season, Roberto De Zerbi has somehow completed what looked like an impossible great escape. But I just want to say, before I bring in the boys, and I need to bring in the boys, that the credit has to go to Roberto De Zerbi. But look, we shouldn't be in there celebrating. I don't think, in my personal opinion, that every fan to their own. I think it's a sad, sad day for the football club that when I left full time, to see, you know, scenes that I saw in some areas of the stadium was really concerning to me, because this is a massive, massive football club. We're not elite, but we are a great big football club. And I'm concerned that the standards that we hold as Tottenham fans, I don't want them to be forgotten. I don't want our expectations to be lowered. So look, I really hope that in these coming days, we get the news that we all hope for. We see Johan Langer hopefully leave the football club. And in an ideal world, look, I think many would like to see the removal of Vinay Venkatesham. I think in a dream world, many would like to see the removal of Enoch, the Lewis family, for how Spurs have suffered over the 24, 25 years of their ownership. But look, make no mistake about it, this is massive, massive for Tottenham. Before I bring in these gents, let me just take you through the match facts and the stats. And for you guys out there, if you can, for us, like, hype, subscribe to the show. That'll be greatly appreciated. It finished Tottenham 1, Everton 0. Tottenham 20 shots to Everton's 10. Tottenham, the 2 shots on target to Everton's 1. We had 28 touches in Everton's box compared to the 16. 42 recoveries to Everton's 38. Everton edging the tackles 22-20. Clearances wise, Tottenham 34-27. We shared the corner count apiece 7-7. Again, possession wise as well, it was 50-50, and Tottenham edging the XG 1.13 to 0.42. And if I could just say, before I bring in Jason, friend of the show, the wonderful Adam Nathan, puts that so I thought brilliant on X. He said, the club don't deserve that. None of the board deserve that. Directors, management, half the bloody players barely deserve it. But me, you, everybody out there, the fans who are the lifeblood of this football club, you know, we care so much about where Spurs are going to go, what they're going to do in the future, that we all deserve that. But there's so much to start with. There really is on this show. So, Jason, mate, I'm going to open with you, mate, my co-host of doing this with me for the last 8 years. Look, we are going to be a Premier League team next season. It's been such a horrendous, horrific season for so many reasons. But I just think on the day, look, we've criticised the players a lot, but many of them delivered. I thought Kinski at the end with a phenomenal save. He had absolutely no right to make. I thought Van der Ven played well. Palhinha, big goal for him. You know, it's been a difficult season. But I think for many out there, Jason, we and you were speaking all week up to this, that many non-Spurs fans, I know, listen and watch the show, they won't seem to understand what that feels like if you've never been involved in that. I think for everybody thinks what October to have been in the situation that we're in, battling this relegation. It feels like a weight has been lifted. That stress over the last 5 months has been so hard to deal with. We hope it's a massive, massive summer in store. Spoiler alert, Roberto De Zerbi says he wants to build a new Tottenham. We're going to come on to him very, very shortly, Jace. But overall feelings of Tottenham, I can't believe I'm saying this to you, mate, remaining in the Premier League, mate. What do you make of it?
Just relief. Just absolute relief. I mean, since the Chelsea game, I've barely slept. I was physically sick twice this morning in the nerves. Definitely the biggest game that I can remember for probably since Stevie Perryman played against Hull to bring us back, 50 years ago or 49 years ago. I thought the game itself showed we did enough to win the game. We probably deserved to win the game, but I thought it also highlighted exactly why we're down there, and that we still had 2 shots on target in 100 minutes against a really poor Everton side. And the lack of quality that we've shown all season was visible today. But today, was about having a little bit of courage and guts. And we somehow got through the game. Thank God we played against an Everton side that looked like they had nothing to play for. But we done the job, and we've criticised them. But like I say, since we went into that bottom 3, we dug ourselves out of it. We've managed to stay out of it. But I'm glad that there wasn't great scenes of celebration at the end. I think most players looked hugely embarrassed the way Porro just collapsed to the turf. Most of the players kind of had that vacant look. There was none of the big arm linking olays to the south stand, was there, that you get when you've actually won something or achieved something. I think most of them will have just felt hugely relieved and hugely embarrassed at what they've put us through. And you're right, the club over the course of the summer, it's been a rancid club, hasn't it? That's probably highlighted by the shenanigans with our captain this week of going away and then, almost being shamed to coming back. I'm not, you and me have had different discussions about the Romero situation. I certainly don't defend him, but I think it was, I think the club were more than happy to see the back of him to let him go out for the week type of thing. So, just huge lessons to learn from this season, because we can't go through another one like this. And at the end of the day, we finished 17th and 17th. And there's a danger that we've become the new Everton, where they went through it for about 4 or 5 years in a row. And we can't go through this ever again.
Spot on, Jace. Spot on, mate. And like I say, I'm just so thankful. Can I just say for people out there, Jace is, as everyone probably knows, a massive, massive part of my life. I've known him for over 10 years. And I'll be honest with you, there's been times where I wouldn't be able to do the show without him, mate. So I'm just so pleased for you. I'm so pleased for everybody out there that, look, it's not a game to be celebrating. It's a game of relief. But at the end of the day, we have to hope this is a step forward to learning the lessons and hoping for a new positive future ahead. And that can only happen, I think, with significant changes at board level. Russ, let's bring you into the show, mate. Love to see you alongside us here, mate. I know, like I say, for a lot of us here, you've had to do a lot of tough shows, as Luke as well, to be honest, throughout this season. I mean, look, Joao Palhinha, a crucial goal for him. Where, I don't know, we'd be without his 7 goals this season, because when you consider, the goals he got against Wolves, both home and away, crucial goals that I think has led us to this survival. And then on the final day of the season to step up for us and get the winning goal. You question now whether Tottenham will look to make that deal permanent in the summer. But look, I'm going to say this. I think the team looked absolutely finished before Roberto De Zerbi came in.
Just say on that, Rick, that's a loan player.
A loan player, I know.
The player who's here on loan. Well, not an actual player that's here on, because the club have played in for years that should have it in there throughout. That's a loan player that's dug us out of it.
And just on top of that with Joao Palhinha, I was told, Russ, I think we had this conversation off air as well, that I was told at one point he was the best trainer at the football club before De Zerbi stepped through the door. And that's a loan player, which I think sums up a lot of the concerns we have around the culture of the football club. But again, I'll say this, credit to De Zerbi. We looked absolutely finished, I would say, before he come through the door. So to do what he's done, I think when you consider the fact he's taken, what was at the time a 5-month winless run, 11 points from 21, that might not seem like a lot of points, but to do it when you think about the injuries to Solanke, to Xavi, to Kudus, which already happened over the course of couple of weeks since he got into the job, is remarkable. Rush, your thoughts on the fact Spurs are going to be a Premier League club next season?
Well, Rick, Thank you for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to be here and spend some time with you and the listeners and the viewers. And it's been a real toil, hasn't it? Really. I endorse everything that Jason has said. I don't feel like jumping up and down and getting lagered up and singing Tottenham songs. It's relief. But now we've got to think about the future and forget about this season, but learn the lessons from it. And I thought it was very telling, and it was great that Jason brought it up. We finished 17th and 17th. So we haven't improved at all. I mean, it's been a fiasco this year. And I think the truth is the cadaver of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club has been on the mortuary slab for a long while. And I think you're absolutely right, Rick, that we look dead and buried when De Zerbi turned up. But Roberto is Roberto, and we know that he's got an awful lot of qualities. I was talking to Henry Winter earlier, and he said that he was down at Brighton recently, and they still talk in glowing terms about his ability and what he can do. But Roberto De Zerbi is the reason that we are lucky. And I can tell you that the owners and the hierarchy of management at board level are extremely lucky to have him because he is the only person now who can do the post-mortem on this cadaver of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And he's going to decide very quickly, if he hasn't done already, who's on the bus with him, playing wise, who's not going to be on the bus with him, who he wants on the bus with him, who will never get a chance to even step on the first step. And I believe, and I know you've got the press conference, which is really interesting, some of the stuff he's been saying, we've got to rebuild Spurs. And the reality is that tomorrow morning, for me, Vinay should be out, Langer should be out. I mean, these two guys, none of them, the owners, any of these guys, did anything in the program today. Not a word. It's gutless. And I'm afraid they're probably going to have a mass clear out behind the scenes. The whole thing is wrong. And then there's the playing situation. We all know that a lot of our players are not good enough. The recruitment has been poor, but there are some diamonds in there, some players who want to play for the club. And to be fair to them, even though the second half I thought it was pretty nervy stuff, I think we'd all agree. The first half I thought that they did pretty well. Palhinha's goal, I was delighted for him because he's shown some balls when he's been at the football club. And yes, as Jason says, he is a lone player. But all of this nonsense that we've had to go through today in the game, and I know you'll talk about it at length, the delayed start because of the officials, once again, not being able to get themselves organised. It really is pathetic in a money-sodden Premier League that this sort of thing happens. Why wasn't there a red card in the first half? That foul on Mickey van der Ven was absolutely appalling. If it had been Romero or Mickey van der Ven, they'd have been off, and honestly, I think generally across the board, most of the officials have been substandard. VAR has been substandard. I mean, I couldn't get to the game today. I'm in the process of moving house, which is not easy, day of packing, but I managed to take it all in before and after. And, I cannot believe some of the decisions that are made on the pitch. I mean, it's incredible. Not that I'm saying if a load of decisions over the season would have gone, our way, we would have finished higher than 17th. I'm not saying that at all, but it does feel as a Spurs fan that we never get the rub of the green in the most obvious of circumstances. And I'm just worried that PGMOL and VAR, for us fans, people who love the game, it's a bit of a shambles, really. It's embarrassing for this so-called greatest league in the world, but we're going to be part of it. Yes, let's be happy. Glass of the old red on the go here. I am relieved, and Jason summed it up perfectly. relieved. But what we've been watching and served up this year, absolute detritus generally. And we spoke before the game, Rick, and I said, what worries me is we've only won 2 games at home all season. And I said, but you know what they say, things have a habit of happening in threes. And thank goodness it happened today. We had, our 3rd win. But the long and the short of it is Roberto De Zerbi is going to earn his money sorting out this squad of players, getting rid of people who don't want to be around, including the club captain. Somebody at the club, incidentally, in my opinion, said, yeah, you go off to Argentina, Cristiano. It doesn't matter. Well, it did matter. And somebody, phoned up and said, well, you better get your bum back here pretty quick. So whilst it didn't look great, somebody's given him permission to go, whatever that reason was, and it's just the mayhem of what's happened this season. Thomas Frank, we all wanted him to succeed, wholly inappropriate. Igor Tudor, thoroughly nice man, very, very good player, but it just didn't work out. The fit was absolutely wrong. And then they had to pay an awful lot of money for Roberto De Zerbi, who, in a year's time, I'm pretty confident, please God, that we'll all be saying, well, if they did one thing right, the owners, they did that. But they've got to look at themselves now. They're not wanted at the club. They sit there with the valuation of the club. They've, this is a club that Enoch bought for some ridiculous, I think it was around about 20 million quid or something all those years ago. How much money do you actually want? Do you actually need? Nobody wants them there anymore. The experiment has failed. They've even turned on the old chairman, Daniel Levy. All sorts going on there, as I'm sure most Spurs fans are aware of. I mean, this is just, it's like an Indian sign over the club, having these people in charge of it. I'm fed up with them. All our fans are fed up with them, and we want them out. But they've got to start acting tomorrow. Vivian Lewis has got to call V9 up, has got to get Johan Langer and say, what we've just witnessed, we are so lucky. And they'll be thinking about the bottom line, the money for them. Yep. They've just got to say, absolute incompetence, all of you, out you go. And the one thing that worries me, and I'm sorry to go on, because I genuinely I'm happy we've stayed up, who wouldn't be, is they've got to treat Roberto De Zerbi in the way he expects to be treated. Because right at the beginning, when he joined the club, he said, as long as the board are nice to me, then things are going to be fine. And fair play to him for coming out and saying, even if we get relegated, I am in. And I think that is the measure of the man. And, quite the opposite to Nuno, our former manager, who said, well, if we get relegated, I'm going to leave the club. Well, he probably would have been sacked. But, the intention was he wasn't going to hang around. Our manager believes that he's got a big opportunity with not an elite football club. That's where we want to be. And I think he's egotistical enough, Roberto De Zerbi, Rick, finally, that he fancies this job and he'll deal with the poo to get it done. And right now, he is the most powerful man in the football club by a mile. And so he should be.
We hope so, mate. Well, listen, Russ, I want to say, mate, thank you so much for all your support throughout the season.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I mean, it's been, we've had laughs and we've cried and, Anyway, it's always next season.
Absolutely.
World Cup before that. Champions League. Allez la France.
We're gonna bring Luke in. Russ, we know you're gonna love and leave us in a second. So Russ, thank you so much. I'm gonna quickly go to Luke. Luke, lovely to be back on the show, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. We know Billy somewhere, by the way, is, bless him, I think he's doing karaoke with crackers in the Bill Nicker last heard. So make it that what you will. Make it that what you will. Luke, let's bring you in. We've even had ex-messages from former Spurs striker Harry Kane, who said for Tottenham to be surviving, congratulations to everyone at the football club, especially the fans. Massive fight and result on the final day. And I said it to Russ there. I'm sure you agree, Luke. De Zerbi, he's the man. You've got to support him now. And I think, there's been a lot of talk about Tottenham fans. And I saw an article written, I think, by Alison Rudd for the Times in the eve of the game, which I just couldn't quite get my head around in terms of, the wording of it, almost insinuating that this season was almost on the fans, which I just couldn't understand. We've been through so much this season, and we're actually going to in a second to show for the watching audience just how much the Spurs fans have been behind the team for most of the season, all of the season, in my opinion, before the games, after the game. But Luke, give me your summary. Tottenham are a Premier League club. What do you make of it?
I don't know what all the fuss is about. It was never in doubt, was it? No, it's just everyone's right in everything that they're saying. I mean, the scenes afterwards are pure relief. They're not celebrations in any way, shape, or form. They are just relief. And you're right. I've never really experienced the proper relegation battle at all. I know last year we was close, but we was never really close. And when you're down there, you really do understand what teams are going for year on year. It is an absolute struggle. It is horrible, especially for us guys coming on and talking about it consistently, saying repeated things, talking negatively about the club that you obviously love and want to do well. It's so hard. And obviously, look, a lot of the players are rightfully criticised and have been criticised, but they will feel that. They will feel that. And I think that's what you see at the end today. It wasn't a celebration of, yes, we've done it. It was we've got over the line, and let's see if we can just refresh this and almost have a start again. So absolutely, as you mentioned, Adam, what Adam's message about, absolutely correct. I tweeted straight after the game, rebuild starts tomorrow. The people at the top, they don't deserve a break. They don't deserve the holiday. They don't deserve the summer. They need to right their wrongs because they've got so much wrong this year. And the single one thing they got right was getting De Zerbi in. Other than that, virtually every other thing that they've done this year has been incorrect, and they need to start getting those decisions. They need to rectify them if possible. And hopefully this is a massive wake up call to say, listen, you're not in football. You cannot just wait and let time pass you by. We've needed this rebuild since probably Pochettino mentioned it all those years ago now. And hopefully this is now everyone's turning around and saying, right, now we know. Last year, I think they turned around and said, yeah, but we was all just focusing on that European. So we weren't really that bothered. And hopefully this year is now like, no, that absolutely cannot happen again, because that is a scary future if Spurs go down. But it's just, I just can't put into words the relief. It's just I'm so thankful. And I'm sure many fans were. At a point of goal, I was celebrating, but also going, I really shouldn't be celebrating this. This is not acceptable. And you're right. Everything that we do from now on is not supposed to be where this is not the benchmark in any way, shape, or form. So, a day of relief, as I say, going through it is absolutely mad. But there needs to be some serious changes. We've been saying it all year. But there were a couple of players that have stepped up over the last 6 weeks, and I think they need to be commended for that, because somebody did need to step up. But De Zerbi's been the shift. He's absolutely been the shift that this club needed. We were dead and buried. I accepted it long time ago, thinking that we're not going to get out of this. I can't see it happening. And he has absolutely been the catalyst. So if we have to back him, if we've got directors of football and everything else in charge and of signings and all scouts and all that sort of stuff, the only person at this moment in time I trust at that club is Roberto De Zerbi. So we need to do everything we possibly can to keep him in charge.
Totally agree. Luke, thank you so much. I want to say, Russ, thank you so much, mate, for all your efforts this season. We're going to see Russ. I will let everyone into a secret. Russ, we spoke, I think, March, April time, and he said to me, Rick, I just want to let you know, if the unthinkable happens,
yes,
I'm still here. So, Russ, mate, thank you so much for all your support this season, mate. We look forward to having you back in August when you've had a refreshing break from it all. Because I know, again, like, people don't realise, I think for someone like you that have been on the show so much, not just this season, but previous seasons, I think it does take its toll on you, not only if you're going to the games, but watching the games and coming to do the show. So, you know how much, hopefully, you feel that love from the Spurs community, because I think it's been a very tough season, mate. So I can't thank you enough again.
It has. And look, it's a pleasure, but you need to thank him, Rick, because you put it all together. You're the one who's sending the WhatsApps out and ringing it all up and what have you. And the job that you do really is fantastic. And to be part of it, for me, it's a real thrill. I'll leave you with the one thought that I had this morning when I woke up, which is, if the unthinkable happened today, I would go to bed tonight and still wake up a Spurs fan, come what may. And if we had that dreadful word had become a reality, I'd have been here with you next season. Why not?
Yeah.
Come on, it's our club.
I think it's the thing. You're right. For us, we're all Spurs fans, and no matter what would have happened, if it was the unthinkable, we still would have been here. But this is the thing about Tottenham. I think it's the way in which I think it's been portrayed by the media, which I don't think is forgivable. The way it was almost labelled that we were the problem, the fans were the issue, which I can never ever get my head around. That Forest game, you had fans outside parading thousands upon thousands. The same again before this game, thousands upon thousands outside the stadium before the game, after the game. The reality is, I said at the top of the show, I'll say it now before we go for this first break. The owners of this football club do not deserve this fan base. They do not deserve this fan base. They don't. So something's got to massively change. Russ, we want to thank you so much. Jason and Luke, you're not going anywhere. The wonderful Adam Hotspur is in casting right now. He's just getting his makeup being touched up. I can see a little smile there. He's in the background. But before we bring Adam in, we're going to hear from the man who has masterminded Tottenham's great escape. The superb Roberto De Zerbi has got Spurs over the line somehow, some way. We're going to go for that first break. Russ, have a lovely summer. You're a diamond. We love you very much. Let's bring in Roberto De Zerbi, and Adam Hotspur joins us after this break. Guys out there, like, hype, subscribe to the show. Let's hear from the man who's done it, masterminded it, Roberto De Zerbi.
What is? There isn't. Non c'è. Non c'è quello che era sempre lì al Tottenham Training Ground. Non c'è. Quello che era negativo sempre.
One negative, always negative.
Non c'è. Non c'è.
There is not.
Non c'è. Dov'è?
Non c'è.
Dov'è? Come si chiama?
What's
Spiega.
Tell him.
Come si chiama? Chiamalo. Vai a chiamarlo. Call him. Call him. Sincerely. No, you have not to punch, but to
Should
speak.
we start? Should we start while we wait?
Start, deve venire qua.
Roberto.
No?
He's the Times journalist. He means
Tom?
Oh my God.
No, but no, because he was negative, and I positive. You feel it? Yeah, but I want to hug him, man. No, to fight. No, I have no energy to fight anymore. I finish everything. Just to smoke this day.
Roberto.
And drink red wine.
Roberto, congratulations. You always said what a big club this was, but you took over this club at a very difficult moment. Describe your emotions and your feelings. I think you feel pretty happy.
No, I'm happy, but I enjoyed today, at the beginning of the day until now. It's football is nice because if you give your best, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, after tomorrow, but you receive back everything from football is incredible. And we deserve this day, we deserve this game, we deserve this win, we deserve everything of today. I think we deserve to stay up because we made 11 points in 7 games and we deserve more. My players played a fantastic game as a spirit, as a behavior, as an attitude, but also as a quality of the play, especially in the first half. They played very well, and I'm proud. Now from starting. Are you happy?
well done. Congratulations.
And from tonight we have to start to organize and to build the new team. I think we have not to change too many players. We have a 10, 11, 12 player good enough to stay, good enough is like a players, especially like a people, and then we have to complete the squad with first level of players. First level of players, because we suffer too much. I suffer a lot, but I think the fans, the club, the border, the players, they suffer too much. We are Tottenham and we can't suffer like this until the last second of the last game to stay up. And I will be stronger. I will be strong. I don't want to decide alone, because football is group, sport director, scouting, CEO. But my target now is finished to stay up. My target is to start the pre-season with the team I have in my dream, in my head.
Can I get your reaction to the crowd before the match on the coach and outside, and then the atmosphere from the fans inside?
Listen, they told me, I don't know which newspaper spoke about the pressure of the fans. The problem was the fans in Tottenham. I don't want nothing from the fans. I just want to be clear, to honest. I'm always honest and sincere. I think in 3 games they were fantastic, the fans. The stadium, incredible stadium. Before the game, when we arrived with the bus, was a big emotion. And I'm happy for them. And next season, the target is to make them happier than this season for sure. I would like to compete, and I don't know for what, but stop suffer like this.
Well, you called me negative in April in a press conference, so sorry, thank you, and have a good summer.
George. Hi, Roberto. A lot of big performances today, but the save at the end from Kinski to make sure you won the game, of course, and his whole journey since you've been here, what can you say about him, and how much has he put his name forward to be number one?
About Kinski? But I want to say a secret, no? Before my first game in Sunderland, I thought to give, when I was in Italy, I thought to give for Sunderland game, just for one game, to make Captain Kinski, to show just one thing, very important in football, but in life. If we are a team, we are like a family. If one of us is going through a difficult period, we have to stay with him, showing love, showing everything he needs, but he didn't need, because a strong character, strong personality. He's a great goalkeeper. And I want to say also something for Vicario, because with me he was fantastic as a guy, as a stay inside with his passion. Today on the bench, in Chelsea on the bench, he accepted my decision with smile.
That was going to be my next question. Who have been the people, not the players, but the people that have been really crucial over these last 6-7 weeks to get you out of this situation?
Dragusin was top, because he didn't play, but he was always positive inside of dressing room, inside of the pitch. Betancourt, because Betancourt, when he came back from the injury, he wanted to play. He came to me to say, hey, I want to play, I'm ready to play. Joao Palhinha, because at the beginning my time he didn't play in Sunderland, here with Brighton and in Wolves. Ben Davis, yesterday he came on the lodge with us. Jed Spence, before the Chelsea game, he came in my office, another one, to say, I want to play. If you want to, he said, you always speak about the personality, the courage. I'm here if you want to play with one player. And he was fantastic. I love it. Mickey van de Ven, great guy, sensitive guy. I spent a lot of time with him because I consider him the best center back, left center in Premier League. With Levi Colwill because he was my former player and I can't forget him. But a lot of other players, Richarlison, Archie Gray, I can't say one.
Roberto, can you promise...
After you, my friend.
Can you promise the supporters that while you are in charge, this will never happen again, they will never have to have a day like this again? And also, can you just say where this ranks in your own personal achievements?
Listen, it's difficult to promise because to promise because Premier League is very tough league. For sure, we have to learn from our mistakes we have done this season, for sure. But no, now we are happy because we stay up and we forget the past. No. The stupid people forget the past. The smart people, the people with value, can't forget and keep in their mind the past. And we have to improve from our mistakes. And we have to looking forward to start to rebuild a team from this night, from tomorrow, no from 10 days. We have no time for the holiday, to go on holiday. And the second, yes, I think is the biggest achievement in my time. Brighton, Europe League in Brighton was great. The second place in Marseille with a lot of problems was a big achievement, but I think today was maybe one of the best day in football so far.
Okay, we'll go Matt and we'll go to Tom.
Hi Roberto, can I ask you about Joao Palhinha? Scored you some big goals, a big one again today to settle nerves. Is he part of things next season? He's here on loan.
Yeah, I would like to keep him 100%. We have to start from these people. Before to speak about the players, we have to speak about the people. And we have to start. Then I can't give the place for everyone in the first 11 because I want to build two players in each position. But for sure I would like he stay with me, with us, like Conor Gallagher and Betancourt, the same.
Tom.
Hi, Roberto. Do you think the team could be stronger for this experience going forward? Do you think that the players, the togetherness maybe that you got from this experience, the suffering, can make them even better next year?
If we remember this day, for sure. Next season, we have to keep in our mind to give our best every session, every training, every game, and to think every game, every training session is like Tottenham Everton. If we remember this thing, I think it will be easier.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
You didn't believe me, when I said that we are able to win.
Get the thing.
So we've just heard there from a passionate Roberto De Zerbi on the back of Spurs surviving in the Premier League on the final day. Thanks to the over 15,500 that are with us here on this edition of Last One on Spurs. We can ask you guys out there, if you can, for us to like, hype, subscribe to the show. That would be greatly appreciated. I'd say on this show versus the wonderful Adam Hotspur, I've been speaking to probably daily, bless him. I've driven him mad every day. Every day we talk about Spurs, mate. Thank you so much for joining us here, Ads. Just so everybody knows out there, we've just heard from Roberto De Zerbi. It feels like the squad building is already beginning. We're hearing that Spurs are set to complete the signing of Marcus Senesi. That's going to be a done deal very, very soon, we're hearing. And we also are hearing suggestions, pretty much now it's close to confirmation, that Andy Robertson is also going to be a Spurs player. So Roberto De Zerbi speaks about there, Spurs looking to rebuild a new team. Robertson set to join Spurs. Now their Premier League status is secure. An agreement in principle already in place for him. And as things stand at the moment, bar any hitches, we've not even hit the January transfer window, the summer transfer window yet. We also understand that Marcus Senesi is going to also be a Tottenham Hotspur player. As let's bring you in on what's been a crazy final day in the Premier League. We survive, Ad. Your initial reaction, what do you make of it, Ad? Tottenham are still a Premier League club.
I actually quite enjoyed today, to be honest with you. It's a bit weird, actually, just like reflecting back on it. Like
you're about the only one I think done. You're about the only one that has.
Well, like I think I said this to you, like maybe after the Villa game. Like since De Zerbi's come in, I've enjoyed Spurs again. Like it's been absolutely appalling all season. I absolutely hated it. Wasn't going, but actually every game he's managed. Well, firstly, I love how he speaks. You just watched that press conference just now. Every press conference he's done, he handles himself really well. The way in which he speaks, the way he just even there when he talks about the players. The first player he mentioned was Dragerson. He's done that a lot. Like very, very clever stuff, bringing everybody together, bringing the players together, and the bare minimum as fans that we want is for your players to go out and give everything on the pitch. And if they give everything on the pitch and they fight and they give 100% and they work and they lose, obviously it's disappointing, but you can accept that. And every single game under him, he has got a tune. I tweeted that, people say he can't polish a turd. He has polished a turd the last 7 games because we have the worst front three that I've ever seen. We've seen bad strikers at Tottenham, but as a collective group, they're the worst front three I've ever seen. They're all appalling in their own right. People will talk about Tell being okay and stuff like that, but because the bar is so low, Tell looks better than he is. I don't think he's very good. I think his decision making, his final ball is generally horrific. So he's been so limited with the options that he's had. At any game, it was like shit or bust, right? Because we had no options from the bench, and he's done an incredible job. And I enjoyed today, and the atmosphere was incredible from the start to the finish to the end. And actually, the players came out brilliantly. I don't know if that's been spoken about, been overlooked, but actually we started the game brilliantly. Yeah. And we haven't started games well for ages. It's the biggest gripe, even going back under Pochettino for a period of time that, we never start games well. We started the game under his brilliantly. And, we've spoken about this before, Rick, about managers, and you've pined for Pochettino for ages and said, no manager can, bring the fan base back. Well, this guy's done it in a really short space of time.
Great point. It's a great point. Yep.
The way he handles himself, the way he speaks, he gets that connection, and he clearly has the ability to bring players together. And, there's loads of things, the way, not just the way we press and fight, but actually the defensive organisation and structure under him has been a million times better. We haven't been all over the place. It was obviously, it was a bit nervy for a period of time in the second half, there was like a bit of a lull for like 20 minutes where it was
Yeah,
a bit
there
like,
was.
oh my God. But
Yeah.
but then, you know, Kinski is just incredible.
Well,
you
that
know,
save at the end, Ad, that save at the end, right? What a save at the end.
Yeah, the way he's come back, and you know, Porro, and you know, I've been arguing with people about Palhinha. I think Palhinha is incredible. You know, like people are just like, well, if he was that good, why don't other teams play with that type of player? And you're like, this guy literally dies on the pitch. And I think he scored, is it 7 goals he scored?
7
this
goals.
season?
I mean, and you look at the prices of that 7 goals. And I said it in the intro. The goals he had against Wolves. I mean, those goals have practically kept us in the division, right? In the one today as well. I mean,
yeah. He scored.
Warrior.
He scored big goals. He's a defensive midfielder. He's our second top goal scorer in the league. He's on loan. We've got an option to buy him for 26 million. It's like, in the modern world, it's ridiculous. And I don't know if it was Jason said I'm not having a beer tonight. I have had a couple of beers because the way I see it, obviously this season has been utterly dog shit, and we've all absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
But the last few games, I've enjoyed seeing Spurs win. I know. When did we last win at home? I haven't seen us win at home for
5 months.
For like
5 months.
5 or 6 months. So
yeah.
So you know, it was a little bit of fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed today, and I do have a bit of hope and optimism for the future under this manager.
I totally agree. And Ad, thank you so much for making this work. A late night call up. We love having him on. Ad, we're going to quickly go to Jason. And I know you've been, bless you, and you've made it work Wi-Fi wise. If there's any way you are able to rotate the camera landscape, that'd be brilliant. If you can't, not a problem. Let's go to Jace. Jace, just get your reaction to De Zerbi's presser there. You know, because I thought what was quite interesting is that he was asked that question by Matt Law, whether he can promise that Tottenham will never, ever be in this situation again. And I think he's quite a smart man in terms of his response, because he said, now we need to complete the squad with the first level of players, because I suffered too much, but so did the players, the board, the fans, and we can't suffer like this at Tottenham Hotspur. It's almost like he knows, and hopefully everyone does, that ENIC better pay attention to him, because he knows he can't make promises with this current ownership in the structure which it is, because they've let down so many managers. And Daniel Levy, obviously, of course, was the front of ENIC, but let's make this very, very clear that there's been so many managers that have come and gone that we would have hoped would have got the backing and didn't get the backing. So what's your reaction, Jace, to that press conference from De Zerbi? Because I'd made that point, I thought, brilliantly, that we've all pined to want to get behind a manager, and you more than anyone like seeing attacking football, front foot football, speaking about players in the right way, speaking about the club in the right way. Jace, what was your reaction to that from De Zerbi?
The first thing he said was he doesn't really want to change too many players, and then said there's only 12 that he wants to keep. So that suggests to me there's about 15 that have got to go. But it's a big summer ahead, let's just say that. I mean, if you want to bring in 12 players with an incompetent board that struggle to get a signing over the line within 4 weeks of starting it, then I dread to think how many directors of football we're going to need. We'll need about 15 directors of football to make 15 signings, won't we? Let's be honest. Big changes to be made in the summer, that's for sure. But I think, you know, Palhinha obviously wants to keep, but I am concerned the likes of that here we are, and we're already agreeing free transfer signings like Senesi and Robertson. Robertson is a player that a top 6 club is allowed to leave on a free. So, you know, as good as Robertson is, he's a massive character for sure, brings a little bit. We needed him perhaps in January when we were in this mess, but I'd like to think that we can start to bring in some players of a little bit more technical quality than free transfers all the time. And yeah, like I say, the quality of our play today, the quality of our play really on Wednesday at Chelsea, the quality of our play against Leeds has been pretty poor, and it's the quality of our play that's why we're in this mess. You know, the front three that we've got at the moment are nowhere near good enough. Those behind them are not robust enough to get a season out of them. So there's major work ahead, and he knows that. But my God, does the people upstairs really need to understand it and right the wrongs of the last 2 campaigns? That's for sure.
Agree. he does say, Luke, coming over to you, that keeping Spurs up is his biggest achievement of his career. Which, to be fair, like I said it at the start of the show, it does feel like he's achieved an impossible job. Because I think when you take the Wolves game, 80th minute mark, I think we were, was it 4 points, off survival? So to do what he's done, to come in, and like I said, be in a situation where he ends a 5-month winless run, taking 11 points from 21, coming in when you think about the injury crisis, the way the fans, the players even lost hope. It did feel at some point in this campaign. I remember Jay saying to me when we employed Tudor, Jason said to me, now I do think it's going down. When Tudor came in, I think Jason's first words were to me, he thinks as soon as Tudor came in, I know Jason thought we were gone. So, Luke, what do you make of De Zerbi there, his words and the fact he's calling for a quite substantial rebuild? And like Jason says, he then seems to allude to the fact he only wants to keep 11, 12 players, even though it felt like initially when he said it, he wasn't looking to get many out, but he made that very clear towards the latter part of that presser.
Yeah, I mean, it is a massive, massive thing for him to be able to do that. I mean, we went something like 15 games without winning. We effectively took half a season off in the Premier League. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So what he managed to achieve is and I think this is a key part of it. And I kept mentioning under Frank about optics and how things looked and how it worked. We're not a team that were just being beat and we were extremely unlucky. We were lucky to be picking up draws. We were lucky to only be losing by 1 and 2 on certain games. Like, we were nowhere near it so often. And he come in and he's completely changed that. I mean, I kept even players like Bentancur. I had to send an apology out to him recently because under Thomas Frank, I felt like his injuries had just completely made him a different player. He looked like he couldn't move. He looked like he couldn't pass. He looked like he couldn't get on a ball. And De Zerbi's come in and within weeks, he's looking like the old player who's picking up the ball, somehow has 4 or 5 players around him and finding a way to get through them. And I didn't see any of this. So he's massively, massively changed so much. And as I said, some of these players have also stepped up and we've rightly given them a lot of stick over the course of the season. But you also then have to be fair and say, right, well, actually they have managed to step up. And when you look through this squad and what's happened this year, one thing that is really bad is the lack of quality that we're signing. But the other thing that's even more, it's just so much worse for me, is the squad planning that we have. It's just all over the place. So it's like if you lose, like even going back to that Brennan Johnson, you sell your winger, you lose your other right winger, and you have nobody. Like, we just don't seem to plan for anything. There doesn't seem to be any sort of a replacement of player. I said this about Sonny. We had Sonny probably a couple of years too long, in essence. Most like top clubs would have gone and found his replacement way before we did. And then you should have that continuation, right? If he's going to leave, what's going to happen? If he's going to come in, where are we going to? And we just don't seem to have that. And obviously, the signing of Robertson and Senesi, let's see what happens, because we've now got an abundance of centre halves, obviously. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of squad planning that is. Robertson was obviously linked to the club way before De Zerbi was coming in. So is that a De Zerbi signing? Is that someone that De Zerbi said, yes, we'll have? Or is that just something almost like we had that thing with Tell last year when he was signed in January and a lot of people argued that was Ange Postecoglou's signing? So it'd be interesting to see whether Spurs have changed. But this is part of the problem. For me, I'm still looking at that left-back area, and it's still a cause of concern for me. Robertson is not a player that you want to be playing every single game. Udogie can't play every single game. So at what point, who's that left-back? Who's the one that's starting every week for you? Is it going to be Udogie, but then obviously miss it? So I think this is a key part of it. It's not necessarily just about going and getting quality players. We need to make sure we plug the gaps and the holes in this squad. And the whole signing this many players, it's not a surprise to me, because we do this year on year where we need 5. We don't sign 5. We only sign 1 or maybe 2. That means we're still left with 3. By the time it's got to January, you now need 4 or maybe 1 more. Then someone will leave, and all this is what happens. We don't actually go and fill and get all of the areas that we need. So if you would have gone back to the summer, there were a lot of positions: ball playing midfielder, left winger, left back, striker, all of these positions we needed. Nothing's changed. We still need them. We just now need other positions as well on top of those, i.e. now we need a goalkeeper as well. So it doesn't really surprise me that he needs that many. But also you need to understand that with him, he set challenges to the board from the second he walked through the door. He's turning around and challenging them and saying, I'll be here as long as you live up to what I want. And if he turns around and goes, I only need 2 players, I only need 3 players, then you know that he's only going to get 1. Whereas if he says, I need 12, he might be in with a shout at getting 3 and 4. So I'm glad about that. I think that that's exactly what needs to happen. We need someone that's going to, we spoke about when we first went live, the standards need to be set, and he's setting them standards. He's like, look, we've only got 10 of you that are good enough. Now you can all look at each other and work out what those 10 are and who those 10 are. But you need to get to the level of being one of the best players at this team. So I'm glad about that. But I think a key thing for me, and I've seen a lot of people already, we're talking about transfers and everything else. We need to stop. Listen, every transfer is a risk. We need to just err away from anything that's too much of a risk. I'm seeing people talk about Hayden Hackney of the Championship, and this Championship player looks good. Spurs need to be signing Premier League players that have played in the Premier League that are going to come in and do the job immediately. Senesi and Robertson are those type of players, and we need to continue doing that. Don't sign the player with potential. Don't sign the player that in 2-3 years is going to be very, very good. We need the players to do it now because we've struggled so much. We need to improve everybody now. So as long as we do that, and that's a good start. But I agree. I think there are still a number of players and positions that we need to make sure we balance the squad well and not overload certain positions.
Just before we go for our next break, I was intrigued to ask you, because I think you've been the only one on the show so far that said you've perversely enjoyed having to quite go through that run-of-the-mill situation that we had on the final day. But you also said something I think was really important. You said we've all wanted to gravitate to a manager and get behind someone, and De Zerbi's done it in a matter of, quite frankly, a very short amount of games. Based on that press conference, how confident are you? Someone that I've known you, mate, for over a decade. We've seen a lot of managers come and go here. I mean, how confident are you that he is going to get what he wants? Does he really? I mean, in your experience as well, dealing with players and being around boardrooms, I mean, how much power does he hold now? Because I think he's got something like a 15 million windfall for keeping Spurs up. And look, to be fair, what he's done, Langer, Vinay, Enoch, the Lewis family, they owe him everything for what he's done to keep this club in the Premier League, right? And he's been handsomely well paid. But in your opinion, how far will that go? I mean, will he get what he wants, like the boys are referring to here? And we get you to unmute, Ed, if you can.
Yeah, look, I mean, a couple of things, just going back to the point about enjoying it. What I mean was, I went to I started almost not going towards the end of Frank's reign, and I was going up to the games, and it was like a COVID game where it was dead. And whereas actually today there was a great atmosphere, everyone was singing, which is what we enjoy when we go to football, right? Yeah, it was a nervy game, but a nervy game is a nervy game. But it's about atmosphere and enjoying it and singing and abusing the ref and the opposition and stuff like that. Look, I think I said when we signed De Zerbi, I think he has. Look, I mean, there are 2 parts. I'll come to De Zerbi second, actually. Obviously, like everybody, I want these clowns that run the club gone. I suspect heads will roll in some capacity in the summer, but I cannot believe under any circumstances that these idiots that own the club will be stupid enough to do what they've done before and try and buy cheap players, younger players, potential, and so on. I don't think, this will be the biggest wake-up call of their life, that they need to invest. I also think that De Zerbi held all the cards. He's gone in. He's got a 5-year deal. He would have gone through all of this, I suspect, at the point in time when he signed for the club, about spend money, what he'll want, etc. So I suspect he will have quite a lot of power. This is the first summer without Levy there as well, which is going to be interesting to see if they go about doing their business in a different way, whoever's in charge of that. But, he set his stall out already by what he said today. We need a lot of signings. Everybody knows we need a whole clear out and load of players. I'd be amazed if he doesn't get what he wants. The Robertson one's an interesting one because, obviously we nearly signed him in January. I'd assume he must have still okayed that for him to come in the summer if that does happen. I don't think he's the type of manager who's like, no, just get. I don't think he's that type of manager.
You don't think you can force players upon him?
I don't think they would say we're signing Robertson. Okay, he's coming in the end of the season.
The only thing I would say that we had that situation under Conte where we were making club signings, if you remember.
Yeah, we were. But again, that was under Paratici and Levy.
Yep.
I think the structure of the club, although there are clowns there, is slightly different now. I do think it's slightly different. And Vinay, I'm not a fan. But he has said in multiple interviews, we need to do things differently. We need experience. We need established players, and so he has spoken about all of that. And I can't believe that when De Zerbi's negotiated his contract, he's come from the strongest position of power to negotiate his contract. And I'm sure there would be stuff in there about control, final say, and stuff like that in and around transfers, right?
Yeah,
and a few people. Sorry, I just want to go back to the Tell point because a few people have said in the chat, "Oh, leave Tell alone. He's a bright spark." And My marker is we used to have Son and Kane up front. They're the type of players I want to see. And now I'm watching Richarlison, who can't trap a bag of sand, and Moani, who's like a traffic cone. And Tell has shown signs of promise, marginally above that. But if we're all really honest and you're thinking he's replacing a peak Son or a peak Kane, he's never going to get anywhere near that level. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I want for this club. I want those types of players to get to that type of level.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you on that. Listen, Jason, to come to you on that point, just to kind of summarise before we are going to move on, we're going to hear from Tony Kinski in a second. A fundamental reason why Spurs are, of course, still a Premier League club. His saves towards the back end of the season have been remarkable. When you consider that 17-minute period that he had in Atleti to come back and show the mental strength and fortitude that he's done was remarkable. I'll ask you the same question, Ed, just before I ask Adam that. How confident are you, Jason, that De Zerbi will get the tools to rebuild Spurs, in his words?
You can't be confident based on everything we've seen in past summers. So I'm confident he'll go in and bang the table, but whether he gets the right answers, you can't be confident. The proof is always in the pudding. Let's see what this ball do. I mean, we saw as Adam's right, we saw exactly what we didn't do in January, didn't we? So, we've let down manager after manager after manager in that respect. So until it changes, you can't have confidence that it will change, other than the fact you can bet your life he'll demand that we do sign players. But, I have no faith in this board at all. No faith in this board. Every single decision they've taken this year has been the wrong decision. And yet I don't see any sign that either of the two main protagonists won't be there throughout the rest of the summer. So, why do I have any faith that they'll suddenly make the right decisions?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I think me and you woke up this morning, Sam, before the game is that zero communication. Everything about Daniel Levy. And we both said, that it's the right decision for Daniel Levy to leave the football club. But Daniel would always give a chairman's message ahead of the game. We've had no communication, nothing from this ownership. Absolutely zero, nothing.
And I think it highlights the club. I spoke to you, didn't I, about the Romero thing. There's absolutely no way Romero should have gone in the first place. But a strong club wouldn't have allowed him to go. No. This club allowed him to go. And I honestly believe this club wanted him to go, because all the anger for the week was directed in Romero rather than on those two cowards that sit there every week that have let this club down far more than any other two people have done. They were cowardly in the January window when Romero called them out. And I think this was a little bit of their payback, as if to say, you all said us two didn't care, but your captain's just gone away, off on his own back. Not necessarily on his own back, because I'm sure the club medical team allowed it. But there's no way that a club should have allowed it to happen. And he's come back today, and I swear that it's his team that have come back that realise the implications, because those two people sitting there will have known the optics of what was going to happen when Romero went on that trip, and they did nothing to stop him. And like I say, all the anger, all the vitriol this week went on to Romero, not onto those two, and they're the two that should pay the price for this season more than anyone else. That's not me defending Romero, because if he had half a brain cell, he'd have realised the optics of going. And when you listen to De Zerbi name all those players, all the qualities they've shown, all the Ben Davies thing, all of those things you could accuse Romero of not doing. So, like I say, I'm not defending Romero, but those two allowed him to do it, and those two were more than happy to see the back of him. And I bet those two were gutted when he took the decision to come home.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a fascinating summer, isn't it? It's going to be a fascinating summer. I think, you know what, it's going to be interesting to see what does pan out for Tottenham. I think it's fair to say that we're going to be in for a storming summer. Look, what we are going to do, we are going to go for our final break of this show for our listeners and audio. Let's hear from Tony Kinski, who has been phenomenal for Tottenham, and one of the main reasons why Tottenham are going to be in the Premier League next season. A man that we understand sacrificed, we're hearing, you know, avoiding surgery to make sure he was available for Tottenham in this game, and also to avoid having a situation where he wouldn't be able to compete for next season. Let's hear from the goalkeeper that's been critical. Here is Tony Kinski. If you can, for us, like, hype, subscribe to the show. The same for Luke over at Spot on Spurs. But let's hear from Tony Kinski.
For joining us. It's been an incredibly difficult season for so many reasons, but try and sum up for us today how important it was to go on and put in a performance like that.
Great, of course. Relief. It was difficult game. It was a big moment, because we know that we can't rely on anyone else. We have to rely on ourselves, which we did. I think we were able to handle it well, you know, in the head, because of course we know the quality, but I think in this moment it's more about like be able to show the quality, and it starts here. So I think this was a good job, you know, prepared well on the pitch. I would say it looked well, the performance looked well. So today even say definitely first half we deserved the goal. Second half, okay, 50-50, but I think if we summarize it, I think today it was we deserved to win.
How much was the preparation for you different today? I know you have the things that you always do. Did it feel different today in terms of the pressure that was on you?
Definitely not. Of course, I was aware of the situation that it's just one game, you know. There is not again, but the preparation stayed the same. I think. Okay, you know how much you play for. So on one hand, you can be like a bit afraid of what can happen. On the other hand, we are on the pitch and we are the ones who can twist it, who can help the situation. So this was, I would say, like energy for me, and the preparation was the same to do a good training week, to have a good training week, then to sleep well, to eat well, to do everything as always, and paid off, which of course I'm happy. Sometimes it doesn't. Today it did, so I'm happy.
Tony, great goalkeepers make big saves when it matters. I'm looking at Wolves, Leeds today. You've done that, exactly that. Tell us how you feel. You must feel 10 foot tall, because you've done what goalkeepers need to do.
Thank you. Happy to hear this. I feel same as always.
Come on, Tony.
He's trying to play it cool, but
is this Hotspur or mine?
Go on. You feel the same?
You would feel like this, yeah?
Yo, I feel 10 foot tall and I'm about 4 foot.
I'm tall enough, so I don't want to be even bigger.
But Tony, go on. You feel the same as always. Why so?
Is this how you do it? This is how you do it mentally, yeah?
But I would say, of course, it's a nice moment. I enjoy it so much. You know, my parents have been here. My girlfriend has been here. I'm so grateful them to see, because, as I say, the season was difficult. Didn't go as I wanted. They still were supporting me. So this makes me 5 foot tall, as you say. I don't know the phrase.
Oh, you don't worry. You come in if you want, Pedro.
No, but I would say I know what I'm capable to do. these moments, I know I can do. Of course, I'm happy to be able to do it in this moment and to help the club, because that means for me so much, apart from my family and the close people who support me. When I see, the joy and how much people care, and this is incredible, I'm here just 1 year and a half, but the club is huge, and it's huge because of the people that are inside, and I'm so happy to be able to contribute to I don't want to say success, just to stay in the league, but this is not where we want to be.
Tony, again, goalkeeping is obviously how you deal with big moments, pressure. How have you dealt with the pressure of the last 7 games? Because it's been immense, hasn't it?
Of course, I think realistically, we perceive the situation, everyone the same. We know we play for relegation in 7 games. We know we need to get the points. But yeah, you know it before the game, you know it after the game. But I think during the game, you just need to, I think, or that what works for me is to keep still, just be focused on every moment. Doesn't matter if it's first minute, doesn't matter if it's last minute. No, just be able to be calm and to have this like training mood, training mindset. And yeah, I know I'm able to save it in the training, so that means I know I'm gonna be able to save it in the game as well if I'm gonna be in the same mindset like in the training. And I think this is the most important thing in the pressure moments. But of course, I'm 23. Maybe in 10 years I'm going to look at it different. But so far it works, so I will not change for a while.
Brilliant, Tony. Look, well done today, and just congratulations on the way that you personally have handled this season. You made us enormously proud with your performances out there and the character that you've shown, the dedication you've shown as well. So well done. Rest up and have a good summer.
There you go. That was Milesy there and Ben Haynes with Tony Kinski. What a character he's been for Tottenham. I have to say that. Mickey van der Ven, there was real big chance for Mickey as well during the game. He had a song being sung out. Mickey spoke to Match of the Day, where he said that I think everyone was behind us. We played with 12 men on the pitch. Everton were unbelievable. They kept pushing us. And when we needed to defend, they kept pushing. I think they were a massive part, he would say, of how difficult it made it. He said, what did he do when he found out West Ham were 1 up at half time? He said, look, I thought that is when we needed to be switched on, but I didn't tell myself to be stressing. I made sure we stayed switched on, and we did. He was asked whether he was embarrassed at the season that led to this game. He said, look, it is unacceptable that Tottenham were in this position. The club does have some unbelievable players. It was embarrassing to let it come to the final day, but we did it, and that is what is most important. He said, to be honest, I was more emotional at the end of the final whistle. It has been a tough season for me personally as well. I played almost every game. I have suffered a lot. The emotions are really happy, and we must not ever, ever let this happen again. And there was an emotional Mickey van der Ven with James Maddison in front of the South Stand, which I think just kind of summed up just feelings at full time. There was no player of the season, thankfully, awards. I know what people think about that, but that was one of my biggest concerns, that there were going to be awards being given out this season just because of how tone deaf this ownership are. But my thanks on this show to the wonderful Luke at Spotlight on Spurs, Jason McGovern back alongside us, and Adam Hotspur as well. If you guys come for us out there, like, hype, subscribe to the show, push it out to a wide range Spurs audience. That would be greatly appreciated. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the game because it feels like, the game was in a way, I mean, Jason said it was a bit of a non-event because all that really mattered for Tottenham was getting the result. But we did make the one change. De Zerbi made sure that he didn't play Callum Awani from the start on the final day, which maybe potentially could have maybe ruffled some feathers. He ended up opting to go with Jed Spence in the team in his place. Callum Awani did eventually come onto the field. But like Adam said, Spurs did start really, really brightly. There were some really bright moments in there. And I think there was an incense, forgive me, I think it was, I'm looking back now on the minute it happened, but around the half an hour mark, it was a shocking challenge from Roll, which resulted in a free kick to Everton. Again, forgive me, guys, I was in the stadium at the time, so I haven't had a chance to really watch it back, but De Zerbi seemed incensed. It seemed like the Everton man caught Van der Ven really, really high. VAR dismissed it and gave a free kick to Everton. Luke, I don't know if you had a chance to watch that incident back at all, because again, we're doing this show kind of on the whistle. I mean, was that one again to be looked at as a contentious decision, or did the referees get it right? And I'm making too much out of nothing, Luke.
No, I think it's one of them where we've seen it. We've seen it previously where that's been given as a red card. If I remember rightly, it was a West Ham player done it on someone, and he got sent off. But it was almost like a cross, and he's just carried on with his extension and gone straight into what looked like almost a standing leg by Van de Ven, to be honest. And he's caught him just up by the shin. So it was a dangerous one, and I think there's. Listen, I think there's been a lot of incorrect calls across the whole of the Premier League. I know that we want to be, it's about us, right? And we're worried about all the ones that go against us. I just feel that a lot of the 50-50 stuff doesn't go our way. Either it be that you could give it as a red card and then VAR would step in and kind of ref it and put it back into our favour, but it just feels like we're not getting any of them breaks whatsoever. It was pretty nasty. It was just the ironic part of that about the whole thing was that you could argue it's a red card by him and then Everton go away with the free kick. It's almost like it's not only just an injustice, you've been done sort of twice over. But I think that's another part of it, and every De Zerbi press conference, that's what he's saying. Like we need to be stronger, and I think we've said it on this show before. We need to be stronger as a club and start calling stuff and bits and pieces out, because this seems to happen so consistently where we don't get the rub of the green whatsoever. And as I say, you've seen them given as a red card previously, and over the last couple of weeks, I just feel like they're not. It's when it goes to VAR specifically at Spurs, they're not even really looked at. It's almost dismissed before it's even considered. Whereas everywhere else, it's almost like we can wait 15 minutes for someone to sort out his comms on his arm, but we can't wait any time to do this. So it's just everything just seems to be a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I could see why he hasn't given it, but I think most occasions that's probably given as a red card.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the general consensus was about the first half, and as you said, we actually did start quite well. I mean, Everton did grow into the second half, but let's come to the goal, because as you spoke about him earlier, he's actually record breaker Joao Palhinha now, because for Tottenham, again, this is the thing about Spurs. We're now the joint holders of the most corners scored in the Premier League this season, 18, with Joao Palhinha's strike equaling that tally, and it came from a deep corner, which was headed against the right-hand post by Palhinha, and the ball quickly fell back for him. He fired back towards the goal, and it stopped just over the line. I mean, Danso did fire it in anyway. Just give a view for fans that weren't in the stadium. I don't know, was it relief? I just don't know what to feel with that goal. And I know Jason just was utterly despicable about us even being in this situation. He was violently sick before the game, so I think he was probably just nursing the fact he might puke again before celebrating. But add to your thoughts that goal winning at the time in the stadium. It did. I mean, the roof came off, didn't it? The roof came off of relief, I think.
Yeah, there was relief, and there was like, I think my immediate thing was, okay, right, we've now got the lead. Are we going to fuck this up? And I think that, and I think that
it's Tottenham. It's Tottenham.
It is. And I tell you, I'm just going to go back a couple of days. The Villa game was the wildest one. We were 2-0 up and absolutely cruising.
Yep.
Like they didn't do anything, and I'm sitting there thinking, at what point am I going to feel comfortable that we are not going to fuck this up? Like it was about
you were still messaging me the 97th minute game, Rick. I think we
can sitting there thinking, if we concede now, they could still get two, and we could like capitulate. So it was relief. I think just going back to the Palhinha thing, I think that was his 7th goal, and I think Romero's got 6 goals, and Van de Ven's got 5, or the other way around, something like that. I think it is.
Yep.
And that tells you the sorry state of affairs of our club.
Absolutely.
Because Richarlison, I think, has got 11, and then Solanke's got 2. So no midfielder has scored any, like, those got any goals. None of our attacking midfielders. I think Tel might have 1. I don't know if Muani has even got a league goal. I think he scored against PSG, and he scored another one. I can't remember. But we didn't score any goals. None of our midfielders. Gallagher scored a goal. I don't think Bentancur did. No one scored. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Like,
yep.
But yeah, it was relief. I think when we were 1-0 up, I was nervous in the second half, about 20 minutes. But I was like, we've really got to fuck this up, because we only needed a draw. So it's like we could still concede and hang on. But it would have been it would have been nice to get a second goal in the second half. But I think the heat played a part in the game, didn't it? It seemed to sort of drift for about 20 minutes, where like no one seemed to be able to run because it was too hot. I think.
But I mean, the thing is, just stick with you for a second. I want to get your take on it because you was inside the stadium, right? So I've got to ask you about this. Look, we do go in 1-0. I mean, it's actually one of the very few occasions where everyone off to a big applause at half time. I mean, even that's been like, a surprise. We went off to a massive applause at half time. But what I found fascinating is the start to the second half, because you was in the stadium as well. I think there was an expectation that West Ham and Tottenham had to start the second half at the same time. But then Russ mentioned at the start of the show, we had like a delay as one of the assistant referees had a problem with his microphone. So players have been out there for more than a minute. And look, you've got many clients that are players. I mean, it's crazy. That's happened to us more than once this season. I mean, what did you make of that at the time? I mean, look, we were like candles of sweat just in that stadium. You had the heat bounding down on you as well. And then it was just waiting for the game to kick off. You're thinking, what's going on here?
Well, yeah. At first I thought they've got to start the game at the same time. And that's what the delay was. And then again, I was like, oh no, there's no linesman. Like, what's going on? And then that same thing that happened in one of those games where it happened like twice. And then actually, when we kicked off sort of 5 minutes late, I was actually quite happy because I thought actually we'll know the West Ham result. So like, I was thinking, well, they weren't winning at that point. So I was thinking if they don't win, then actually if their game finished and they hadn't won and they drawn, then you'd have been like, okay, like there's not like that desperation that we might need another goal or whatever it might be, right? But the second half just sort of drifted a little bit, and Everton probably really sort of last 10 minutes sort of put a bit of pressure on. So here's a question. I don't know, like, because we've spoken about this when we're talking about players and stuff like that. I'll be interested to see what people think.
Yeah.
Like, would you start Kinski as number one keeper, or would you get another goalkeeper instead of him and keep him as number two? If we assume we're selling Vicario, I think Kinski's better than Vicario. So I'm really interested.
I agree with you on that. I think he's better than Vicario. I want to open it to the boys because I think we look back at Stamford Bridge the other night. I'll ask you, Jason, we can get Luke as well. I mean, in that game, Kinski didn't really have much to do, which again, I think makes the full-length save at the end even better because he wasn't being bombarded at all. And, that when you think about that save at the end there, that's a huge moment which does stop any real kind of last-minute hysteria. Because many will forget, we had 9 minutes added on. I mean, that was booed by the fans inside the stadium. The minute 9 minutes went up, you think, right, this is a conspiracy to want to send us down. Like, it does feel like they're kind of playing on time, waiting for Everton to get an equaliser and grab a winner. That's what it felt like being in that stadium when it was read out. There's 9 minutes added on time. We'll get your take on that, Jace, for you, from Adam's point there about Kinski. What do you think? Do you think we should be searching for a number one, or would you be comfortable with Kinski starting next season, Jace?
I absolutely think you should be searching for a number one. I thought it was a good save, but I still expected him to make that save today. It wasn't right in the top corner. I think he'd have been disappointed if it had gone in, and it was close enough to him where to me he should have saved it. The save against Leeds was an astonishing save, and that should win save of the season, the one against Leeds. But I did think he should have saved it today. But the one thing he's brought is a calmness at corners. We didn't look so nervy. We've all said he's been much better with his feet. I think because the way the transfer windows work, that once that window shuts, you've then got what you've got for 3 or 4 months. I still want to see Kinski on 20, 25, 30 games before you can really get a feeling for him. We still go back to it, Rick, that since he signed, we've had four different managers, God knows how many different goalkeeping coaches, and they've all preferred Vicario. And the only reason he's come into the team is because of Vicario's injury. That's not me criticising Kinski, but the people that work with him day in, day out have obviously not seen enough from him to say, you're my number one. Maybe in an ideal world that you go and sign a proper goalkeeper, you get a proper number two and let him go out on loan and play 30, 40 games for someone before you can really make a decision on him. I just think it's a huge risk to go with him as your number one goalkeeper and then think, Christ, we can't fix this till January. But, everything that we've asked him to do in this run, he's come in and done it, and he deserves huge praise for what he has done in this run. And we needed that calmness. We've
Yes.
really needed it. The other one I'd praise for a little bit of calmness today, where I was worried, and particularly after the tackle you showed, was Mickey. Because I was really worried about Mickey at Chelsea. He looked frustrated. He looked desperate. He looked like he was feeling the pressure of it. His decision-making Monday was charging around all over the place. You saw how he was with Muani when they scored and things. And I thought, Mickey, we really need you to keep composed. And I thought that the big risk when he had the tackle was that he'd react to that and go chasing after the referee and lose it again. I thought Mickey was back far better towards the Mickey that we know he can be today than we've seen in that game against Palace and in the game against Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree.
Jason,
I think
if you just go back a bit though on the Kinski point, right? And you said that you don't trust the board to make any of the right decisions. So what, are you going to trust them to buy a good number one?
That's a great point. It's a great point.
Trust them to do anything, mate. Don't trust it. I don't even trust them to shut the door on the way when they leave the stadium today. Jesus
well, let's hope they have shut the door and then.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, Luke, just also bringing in one man I do need to mention as well. And I know, again, it's a show that, this season, it's been very hard, finding individuals to praise. But I think one we have to is Kevin Danso, right? I think when you consider when he made that, error at home to Brighton, I think, again, there's a concern how that would affect his nerves in the final few games. But he said, what a feeling. Together, we've showed heart and character every step of the way. And we're proud of what we've achieved through every challenge and every big moment. The support from our fans never changed. Whether home or away, you stood behind us, pushed us on, and gave us the energy to keep fighting until the very end. Thank you for believing in us and standing by us through it all. Sharing moments like this is what makes the game. We did this together. And you know what? Again, this is not a season to be proud of or a season in any way to be accepting of. It is unforgivable that we're even in this conversation that we have to have about staying in the Premier League. But Kevin Danso, what a warrior he was for Tottenham, because I just thought he's battling in the final, I'd say 15 minutes or so. What he showed in terms of his bravery, getting his head on every ball. He took a whack, actually, I think, in the stomach towards the end of the game as well and still persevered and carried on. Thoughts on Kevin Danso, Luke? A big performance from him.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is about squad building. You got to have, and Kinski can fall into that category as well. You need different profiles, you need different players, you need different situations. You also don't want to have a massive drop-off in quality from one player to another. So absolutely, these players, this is what they're there to do. They're there to step in and step up when the time's needed. Obviously, Romero's been out for a number of different reasons. We've had other players that we purchased in previous seasons where they've come in and they've done a good job for a couple of games, and then they've not been good long term, or they've been good over a long period. It just depends, and this is all part of building a squad. So we need to look at it as a whole. And I feel like De Zerbi is the guy that's going to turn around and be quite frank and honest. But it's all about opportunities, right? Because if we're clear, we can probably upgrade most positions in this 11. But if it's a case of, right, if you can go and, for instance, centre-back is a key place because we've got so many centre-backs at this moment in time. Is it worth going out and signing a brand new centre-back now when we've got so many? Probably not. But actually, if someone offered you that same amount but you needed a left winger, that's absolutely what we need. So that always comes into it as well, what opportunities there are on the market. But this is exactly what we want, right? We want players to come in and do the job that we need them to do, even if they are considered a sort of backup. But I do think that we get caught up sometimes as a fan base, for instance, like Romero at this moment in time is the bad guy and everybody hates him. And I feel like anyone that steps into his position, people are going to look at everything that they do positively. Where do Spurs want to become? Where do Spurs want to be? Do Spurs want to sit there and say, right, I know Jamie O'Hara on TalkSport was talking about finishing in Champions League spots next year. Well, if you want to do that, Danso probably isn't a centre-back that's going to get you in the top four. Kinski isn't a goalkeeper that's going to get you in the top four. Now, I'm not saying that's where we should be going, but it's where does Spurs target? Where do we think we're going to be? Kinski, I think, is a really good goalkeeper who probably going to be a good goalkeeper. But right now, if you was to go to all of the other clubs and have Kinski there and say, right, we're going to give you say on loan, we're going to send you Kinski on loan. Does he start? how many clubs actually go, yeah, Kinski will be our number one?
It's a great
I
point.
don't think there's that many. I don't think there's that many. And that's not to say you go out and again, say for, I don't know who it is, you go out and you sign a number one goalkeeper and then Kinski is unbelievable in pre-season. Well, then he starts. We had this with Brad Friedel and Lloris. Brad Friedel stayed in for a bit. And unfortunately, them lot down the road also done it. They had a goalkeeper that everyone in Ramsdale was saying is a very good goalkeeper. They don't need to go and sign anyone else. Football's a ruthless business. If we can go and upgrade, go and upgrade. Now, don't go and upgrade if you don't need to. Don't go and spend a huge amount of money when you've got loads of other areas of the pitch that you need to upgrade. But I actually think that we need to go and get a number one. It is too, again, we'll go back to that whole certainty, uncertainty. If you go in, that transfer window ends and Kinski's your number one and you need to hang your hat that he's going to be solid and good enough for 5-6 months, no one can say that they know that that's going to happen because it hasn't happened previously. We haven't seen it. So I'm not saying it should be a case of getting rid of him or anything like that. We should be signing a number one and them two compete because this is, again, the problem. And Jason's right. From what we've heard within the club, Kinski was nowhere near Vicario. It wasn't like even close. Vicario's carried a hernia injury for months and Kinski didn't come in. So we need two goalkeepers that are going to be of a similar level. And if one drops out, we don't see a difference. That's the whole point of it. And that's, we sit here and we've all quite rightly said, look, we need to build a good enough squad. We need to build a good, if we can go and improve a position, go and improve it. Because we're not sitting here. I remember under Pochettino where we were sitting there going, it's really difficult for us to improve this 11. Like, it's really difficult. We need to almost buy backups. We can improve basically every player on that pitch by going and sign a starting 11 player at this moment in time because we haven't got elite level players. So yeah, I think that we need to look at every position, find opportunities. Bringing in, as I say, centre back is a particularly good one because we've got so many at this moment in time. Vuskovic coming in, Romero, Van der Ven, Senesi, Dragusin, Danso, all of these players. How is it all going to mix up? But for me, I think that we need to have a starting number one or bring in what we think will be a number one and let them battle it out.
Yeah.
Just on Danso, Rick, I was going to say, we have to give him a little bit of praise. Like Adam says, for me, long term, I think if you want to be in the top positions, Danso is not your man. But if you think about, people have talked about the redemption of Kinski. And Kinski made those mistakes in Madrid, but the reality was we weren't going to win the Champions League. Danso's mistake was in many ways the bigger one because we had 3 points in our hands that night and stuffed it up because of that mistake. So the fact that his comeback has shown as much strength, if you like, as Kinski too, because that mistake for me was far more damaging and costly to our season, or could have been, than the two mistakes that Kinski made in Madrid.
Yeah, I think it's been fascinating to see, like you guys have touched upon there, how Spurs do go about their summer business and what they do. I think bringing that conversation up was fascinating because with Kinski, I know there's a lot of people that maybe feel they'd like to see him become a number one. There's also those that feel that maybe, given the nature of the season and even that Chelsea game in the week before, that it does show that maybe we do need that experience. But like you also said, Ad, how do you then trust the same people that have made so many, as Jason said, wrong footballing decisions to get that position right? So we are going to have to see how it does play out. One man that his loan has come to an end, but in typical Tottenham fashion, nothing would surprise me with Tottenham, right? Because, Adam, you sent me a message this morning, if it doesn't remember. We sent so many messages to each other, and Adam sent me a message going, happy end of loan Kolo Muani day. But it wouldn't surprise me at all whatsoever when I wake up Monday morning that we've gone and signed the guy on a 5-year contract. Because it's Tottenham. This is what I say. Nothing would surprise me in the world of Tottenham. It's only Spurs that would do the most illogical things. I remember Jason speaking to you midweek. You were saying there's no way that guy can play. To be fair, look, De Zerbi did make that change with having Spence on to start the game. Muani, I'd just quickly on him because I thought, to be fair to him, look, the bar is so low, isn't it, when I talk about a player like Muani? I thought he worked hard when he came on. He tried to offer us something which, we needed. He held up the ball a couple of times, but Adam, like you're saying, that the level of the bar is so low. I'm just praising footballers for like the most basic actions now, really.
Yeah, look, the reality is Richarlison was dreadful. And Muani came on and was okay. Like that's basically what it is. The bit about Muani that I don't get right, and I've seen absolutely nothing in him at all. and I tweeted it the other night that PSG paid 75 million euros plus 15 for him. So there's obviously, I don't watch enough European football to know, but there had to be something somewhere in this guy, and I don't know whether it is, again, it's like a circumstance. I don't know whether, we don't know, if he went on loan in January or in deadline day to Man City, would he be brilliant in that team, play him through the middle and get loads of chances, or would he be useless again? I don't know. I don't know whether he's coming to our team. We've been absolutely appalling, a complete shambles.
Yep.
He's had absolutely no interest at all, and he's just basically binned us off. Or he's actually not very good. But I just sort of watch him, and I'm like, I mean, to be honest, I said this again. I watched the front three, and I'm like, this is so miserable. And I said this over and over again. Like every time I watch Richarlison play, I go, we used to have Harry Kane there. Like when he tries to control the football, and it just runs away 50, and he's the worst Brazilian first touch in history. Muani will obviously not be there.
Well, we thought. Listen, we did think we thought the same about Werner, right? I mean, I wouldn't get too carried away. I mean, we did re-sign Werner.
Nah, there's no.
I'm going to ask you what Matt Law asked De Zerbi. Like he asked, can you assure me we wait for his 17th? Can you assure me as we definitely won't be signing Muani for 5 years?
Yeah, I'd take Werner back over Muani, to be honest with you. That's how bad it was.
That's how bad the level is. It's unbelievable. Listen, we'll have to see. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. You go from Kane, Son, and Kulusevski to the front three we've got. I mean, that's why serious things have to change. They really, really do have to change. Look, I think Pedro Porro, he was on the floor crying at the end there. Many, I think, suggesting he was Spurs' man of the match. To be fair, he was here, there, and everywhere. I mean, Luke, I think it's been one of those seasons where it's really, really hard to want to give too much praise to a bunch of players where it's felt at times, with all due respect, I think they've jacked it in. I think that was the feeling for a lot of the season. So it's then very hard when it comes to the final game to sit here and praise every single one of them. So, I mean, Luke, do you give the credit to like players that have stepped up on the day? Porro, I thought, again, we mentioned Kevin Danso, Mickey van der Ven, he made some big interceptions. Destiny Doggy, a good shift from him. It was a day, though, Luke, where we had to have players step up, right? Because they put us in this mess, along with the managers, along with the owners. It's been collective. It's not just been one person. This is accumulation of a board, of managers, of players, which is the reason where we are, Luke. So it's been very hard, I think, to kind of sit here and start praising players that have let us down throughout this campaign.
Yeah, 100%. But I think this is like that, the whole social media thing where when you say a player's played well, that doesn't mean this player is the best player in the world and we should give him a 12-year contract. Like this is just, we've quite rightly come on here what feels like week after week after week and criticize all of these players. But actually, when they step up and do something and they are impactful and they have a good game and they show heart, then we should also be able to say, yeah, look, they had a good game. That doesn't mean that they're going to have a good game next time. It doesn't mean that they should be here for a long period of time, but they've stepped up. And that's what I feel like particularly with Porro, for all of the things that are negative about him and the lack of defending and this, that, and the other. This man is always available, even in a Tottenham Hotspur team where players get injuries left, right, and centre for months on end. This man is always available. And I come back to the whole squad planning, squad building. We went into this season knowing that we had 3 fullbacks, one of which is always injured in Udogie. So we knew that Spence and Porro were going to basically play every single game again. And that's effectively what's happened to Porro. And he consistently has to play games. And then he goes for a mid-season where he just looks like he's absolutely burnt out. So, yeah, absolutely. There are certain players on that pitch. And again, it's not just necessarily today as well. It's over the last few weeks that I think have really stepped up. I think Van der Ven, as was mentioned earlier, he looked like at a period there was the rumours flying around that he was walking around a training ground and telling everyone he's off, he don't care. He's turned a corner. He looks like he's a player that's there's even talk about him signing a new contract now because we're staying up. So These players deserve that bit of credit. Let's not go over the top because they are part of the reason that we're here. But I said this before, some of these players are going to be looking at that board going, particularly I remember last year, they would have been looking around at this board going, we need help. We need January signings. We need players in and around us. We don't have enough players. And you're rolling us out. Look at Sarr coming on today. Looked like he was the Terminator with all the padding all over his shoulder and everything else. And I guarantee you there are players that are out on that pitch that have little injuries. I'm not saying, oh, woe them, they're on 200 grand a week, etc. But they will be sitting there going, we needed help. In January, we didn't need a guy coming over that was 18 years old, 19 years old from the Brazilian league and one central midfielder. We needed a lot more help, and they weren't helped. They didn't. So they've been rolled out there week after week, being booed for, again, poor performances, and rightly so, being absolutely smashed all over the place and being run ragged. And they've stepped up in certain aspects. Again, don't go overboard, but when a player plays well, they deserve to receive that praise. So Conor Gallagher as well, another one.
Yeah.
The guy that I think the guy we haven't mentioned at all. I think personally has been transformational for Spurs under De Zerbi's in terms of how we've played in Bentancur.
Yeah.
Like I loved Bentancur before he got injured. And even today, like the way he just holds the ball, and he's so calm under pressure, and we massively missed that. Not the Bentancur that Thomas Frank made, but the Bentancur that, everyone thought it was basically Frank, as I think Jason said it, he moved, De Zerbi moved Bentancur up the field into sort of a more advanced position, but his ability to retain the football in tight spaces and find a small pass, nobody else can do that. We don't have anybody else at the minute. Madison, who's fit, I mean. And I think that made a massive difference to our play.
Agree. I totally agree, guys. Look, I think, for us all, it's been a long season. Before we do give the opportunity to thank everybody out there, and again, I say, guys, thank you so much for all your help in making these shows happen throughout the season. I think it's only right we do hear from the man that has ensured Spurs' safety in the Premier League. Adam mentioned it in the earlier part of the show. 7 goals that have been some big ones in there. The Wolves goals, the one on the final day ensures we are going to be a Premier League club. Are Spurs going to trigger the option to buy him? We shall see. Let's hear from Joao Palhinha before we talk about how we may have just have a little bit of a weight lifted weight lifted off us for at least a few months around Tottenham before the transfer window starts. Jason, cover your eyes, cover your ears. Let's quickly hear from Joao Palhinha.
That we give the last word of the season to you after scoring what is one of the most important goals that this stadium's ever seen. The most important goal that you've scored in your career?
Yeah, definitely. In one of the most important days in my career as well as a player. Was really special after this through season. Really tough. Was not easy. Everyone was living this week in the different mood as well, because it was we knew the importance of this game today. I said before that this club is much more than us. We represent the club today, but the fans are here all the life. And a lot of people live from the club, not just as players, but also there is many things around the club than the players, and give them this victory and keep the club for sure that where he belongs was our main objective this season. After the overall was not good enough for the level of Tottenham, we all know that, but I think, as I said before, this season for sure will help Tottenham growing up for the future.
I know this is probably not how you imagined this season. I'm going back to August when you joined and you sat down for the first time as a Spurs player. You would have seen it going so differently in your mind, but it definitely feels like you've become a big part of this team and come up with really crucial moments. Have you felt that? Have you felt yourself being an important part of this side?
Like every single player. I think the secret of this team is the commitment until even on the tough moments, because it was living a really tough phase, and sometimes it's more hard to be on that position that we was fighting instead of fighting for titles. It's different way the way that you live these weeks, especially the decisive weeks. But as I said before, I think this season happened because on the future the club will improve in a lot of things. And yeah, I think for overall was a really happy day for all of us.
Joao, tell us about the pressures of this week. We go to Chelsea, we needed 1 point, didn't work out for us. We come here today, we need 1 point. What have you been saying to each other about such a monumental day like today?
No, today was a relief, a big relief for what we have been living since I don't know when, but since we was competing with West Ham for the maintenance. I think until the middle of the season we was not also doing a good collective season, but yeah, when we get closer from the West Ham, I think this all affect us. Also the people from all the departments on the club. But the reaction was really good, and the reaction I think also started when the coach came at the Roberto came at. He bring a lot of different things, in my opinion, and I think the improvement was clear. The improvement was clear from all the players, from all the way that we play it, and I think also for the future will be even much better. Has to be because the Tottenham has to be on the top and fighting for the titles, for the first places. So I think it's a big step this season, even if you don't achieve what is at the level of the club.
Let's just finally talk about Roberto and the relationship that you've had with him. He has put a lot of faith in you, a lot of trust in you. He speaks so highly of you. What has it been like working alongside him?
A pleasure. One of the best coaches that I ever had. It's different. It's different coach in terms of tactical work, the way that he lives the football. I think he give us this, the way that he lives, the way that he speech inside of the dressing room, every single meeting during the week, you feel the blood, and I think this team has needed that, and also all the knowledge that he knows about football, because top coach, and I don't have any doubt that it's for sure a manager for the future and long-term future. So
Joao, just remains for us to say thank you for everything you've given us this season, but also thank you for that moment. Spurs fans will remember that forever.
I just also, if I have the opportunity now, just to appreciate and say thanks to all the fans, to all the supporters since this season started, because it's not normal. As I said before, it's not normal we having this all support after the season that we did. And this shows what is a big club, in my opinion. The commitment, the outside, everyone pushing the team before a really special game that was today, even happened before in some of important games that we had, and this shows what is Tottenham. And I think what we can took particularly this season is the relation that we create here with the supporters, and I think just to enjoy now. Just to enjoy and thanks for everything. Okay.
Thank you, Joao.
Thank you, Joao.
So that was Joao Palhinha there. I think really important that we close the show with that, because I think he was, one of the very few shining lights in this closing stage of the season that has been a real difficulty for us. I want to say again a massive thank you to this wonderful panel we've had. We had Russ Williams join us earlier, bless him. He's off for the summer. Also alongside us, we've got Luke over at Spot on Spurs. We're pleased to have Jason McGovern. We're joined by Adam Hotspur on this show, our finale show of the season, Relief. I'll ask you boys to close us here. And before I do, can I say again, massive thank you to the audience. Nearly over 20,000 of you that have been listening and watching Last Word on Spurs on this episode. And, you guys have been amazing throughout the season. I've got to say thank you so much for all the personal support and love I get at the stadium. It really does mean a lot to me. And I think people know that, doing this for 7-8 years, I had some people come to me mid-season and say to me, can this carry on? Will you carry on if we drop in the championship? And me and Jason were speaking about this ages ago. It's more than just, what division Spurs are playing. This has become like my way of life. It's been such a big part of my life. And I've met so many amazing people through it. I've known Ads for nearly a decade. I've known Jason over 12 years. I've just known Luke in the last year or so, mate. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, mate. You're an absolute top man. And it's, I've been very lucky. It's really brought me some amazing friendships out of it. So it's mad just how a football club can bind you together with such amazing people. And again, I will thank the audience for all their support for what's been a very difficult season. Do you feel, Ads, before I let you go, because Ad doesn't like late nights, and we're late night in here on this one. And tell me,
hour past my bedtime, that. But it's bank holiday. It's bank holiday.
It's bank holiday. Do you feel like a massive weight's been lifted now? Because it has felt the last 4 or 5 months, that kind of feeling waking up, knowing the position that we've been in. It's been a very tough feeling for a lot of us as fans. Will you kind of go to bed a lot easier knowing that we are still in the league and having that hope, like you said earlier, that fingers crossed, we might have hopefully a bit more of an exciting future in store if there's significant changes at ball level. If we have my hope is that there's a significant change in ownership that allows us to get our Tottenham back. I think, again, I don't want to be negative, but I think under this ownership, I don't think we'll ever be what we want Spurs to be. But how do you feel, Ed, now going into the summer?
I think just reflecting on the season, I think it's been a roller coaster. Like I started relatively optimistic under Frank. I went to PSG the first few games, and then I slowly just lost any desire to want to go. And then like everybody, right? I'm sure every Spurs fan listening and watching, and all you guys, we never thought we were going to go down. And then all of a sudden, it just got worse and worse and worse. And there was that time where Forest got a point, I think, away at City. Arsenal did something, and I think West Ham won, and all of a sudden we were down there. And I remember I was on holiday coming back, and I watched the Forest game, the 3-0 game, and there was so much talk about it, and I was like, right. And we had a cut. I was like, right. And then I watched that, and I was like, oh my God, like we are actually going down, and it's actually happening. And I'm sure everybody felt that. I was like, it's actually going to happen. However, since this manager came in, I have optimism. I think in a really short space of time, he's worked miracles with the players that have been out injured, the people he's had available. He's worked miracles. And whilst I agree with everything Jason says about the board and you and the owners, when we talk about ENIC and profit and stuff like that, if you just take that as that's what they give a shit about, they need to spend money to make us a profitable club again that's going to be attractive for them to sell. They can't have a club that's 17th 2 years in a row and in a relegation battle. So they have to do something. And I think they will. I think they will. I think that if they don't, it's going to be horrific at the beginning of the season. And I don't think this manager will stick around too long. I don't think he's the type of guy to do that. I think we've got a great manager. I think he, in a short space of time, has brought the fan base together, brought back that bit of that relationship and that bit of spark. And I think he held the cards in negotiations, and I'm hoping that they're going to back him. And if they do, I'm optimistic, provided we don't have 15 injuries next season again. all at the same time.
It's just been wild. It's just been wild. Ad, thank you so much, mate. Honestly, there's been times this season where we've messaged each other. You've been a diamond. Let's go to Luke, then we're going to close with Jason.
And also,
Luke,
sorry, just on that,
please.
right? Because the amount of effort that you put into this podcast is sensational.
Oh, thank you, bro.
And I think you deserve a summer break as well, Ricky.
I'm getting one in. Well, you know what? I'll make you laugh.
I've got time with your family and your
100%. Well, make you laugh. We've got a wedding in Cyprus. I've got 3 weeks over there. My dreaded thing was, I thought, my God, I've got to. If we start a week early in the championship, how am I doing this in the championship? So we are gonna. I'm looking forward to having a bit of a break, definitely, Ed. And you've been a star, mate. Thank you so much. And we've had morning calls and morning texts, mate. I tell you what, it's been a wild season. Luke, let's come to you, mate. I know, I tell you, Luke, let's come to you, mate. It's been lovely to have you indebted into the last one Spurs family, mate, this season. You've been an amazing addition for us. I said that to you off air. I've said it to you on air as well. I've had so much love for you personally coming on the show, mate. And hopefully you feel that as well. Luke, how do you feel now going into the summer? Do you think hopefully there's a brighter future ahead? I mean, do you feel there's like a relief, though, that this is over? Because I think that's how a lot of people would feel now. I feel like at least now you don't wake up in the morning worrying about the league table, worrying about relegation. And at least from that perspective, we have a breakaway from the game aspect itself, and then we come to the worry of the transfer and who we're going to sign. And that's when Jason definitely switches off and goes to Thailand, doesn't worry.
I'm just glad I ain't got to go and work and someone goes, what do you think then? What do you think? Do you reckon you'll go down? Do you reckon you'll stay up? What do you reckon? Do you reckon West Ham will win? At least that way I don't have to listen to this for a couple of weeks. But it's new season, new enthusiasm, new love, new optimism. You have all of this sorts of things. But ultimately it does. It falls down to what this club want to be, and that's set by the owners. And I think Adam's absolutely correct. I think De Zerbi ain't going to stick around. He ain't going to stick around. He's going to expect things. And I have no doubt that part of the reason why we've seen some of the Romero stuff is because when he signed that new contract, he was promised a load of things. and it doesn't look like he was got what he was promised. So there needs to be a change, and I completely agree. I've been saying this. People were saying, would it be better for them if we went down? Would they sell then? They're all about profit. They need to make this club as profitable as possible, and you only do that by being successful. What that success is, it doesn't mean you have to go and win trophy after trophy, but you have to be competing. You can't be finishing off the back of 217 places. So they have to give a bit to potentially get a little bit further down the line. But they've run out of all the excuses. The excuses again last year was the Europa League. We was focused on that, etc., etc. Well, guess what? It happened again this year, and that's over to you. We knew we needed more in the summer. We knew we needed more in January. All of the fans could see it. All of the channels, all of YouTube, all of social media. It wasn't like this is unprecedented and we've never seen this before, or no one see it coming. We didn't know it was going to be this bad, but we knew we needed more. So, absolutely. Hopefully, we'll get a couple of signings through the door, which already looks like it's going to happen. If De Zerbi gets his way, then there'll be a hell of a lot of changes, both in and out, because there's only 10 players that are good enough at this club at the moment. So there'll be a huge in-out, shake it all about. But yeah, there'll always be no optimism. We'll start the new year. We won't be sitting there thinking, well, what happens if this happens? We'll be thinking all the positives. And hopefully Spurs put us in a situation, deliver a squad that these fans deserve, and not one that the ownership deserves.
Well, just on that, Luke, I know we laughed about earlier saying we can't hand out trophies on here because it's just embarrassing. And, we talk about the fact the club haven't handed out a trophy. Rage Meister, forgive me, Rage Meister 88, who's a regular viewer and listener contributor, says, Luke is my panelist of the year, panelist of the season. So Luke, you have the panelist of the season award, the newcomer award of the show. Jace, let's close with you, mate. Let's allow you to have the last word on Spurs, the final word on Spurs, because to be fair, surprise, Jason is going to go to Thailand at some point, I'm sure, in his next few days or weeks, and he will not probably be on here for the transfer shows. But what we are going to be able to do is welcome Jason back on the show when Spurs are going to be a Premier League club again. Jason, take it away for us, mate. Close it, because I know again...
Back on the show for the New Zealand tour when we're playing Chelsea instead of playing.
I
Carabao
tell you what,
Cup
mate. So that was the crazy. People forget about this now. We can laugh about it because it hasn't happened, but there was that situation where potentially we were going to be in Auckland, but we may have had to play the EFL first cup round 3 days later. I mean, part of me wanted to see what Langer, Vinay, and the ball would have been like squirming at that predicament, but they haven't got to worry about it because obviously we have survived. But I mean, that kind of just sums up how crazy this season has been. And the crazy thing about that tour was, I think we announced that tour. It was after, I think, the Nottingham Forest defeat. I can't remember when it was. It was after a defeat Spurs put out, we're going on tour. And you're thinking, this is nuts. We've just said we're going on tour and this could clash with the start of the Championship. But this is, I always say, this is Tottenham. This is Tottenham all over. I mean, how can you, try and sum this up? Jace, close us here. We all need a break for a few days away from it. We have survived. Relief, mate, because I know we've had, again, you had 6 nights over this.
Huge relief. We have to be a Premier League club, and when you look at the relief today, and you've still got a week of watching them lift a trophy and going into a Champions League trophy in there. I mean, the thought of being a Championship club. I think most people have seen the 2 clips of 2 Everton boys walking past a pub in N5 today, and all the cheers for them as they were going towards the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So it's a massive relief to all of us. Let's have a couple of days where we can just process it, calm down, and then start seriously making some plans for next season. But please, the first plan, please get rid of those 2 cowards that have sat back and watched this season, and get people in with an understanding of our football club and everything that our football club is and everything our football club means to the people.
Oh, man. Jace, spot on. And I just want to say a last massive well done to the fans. I think it's right we finish on the fans, because without the fans, this club, I think, we're most certainly going to be going down. And I think when you consider, and again, it's not been spoken about enough on this show, but the turnout beforehand in their thousands throughout that stadium, like Adam touched upon, the fans stood with the players. And at the end, I'm going to say this, in other countries, namely Turkey, Italy, Spain, France, you would not be getting fans like that at the end of at the end of a game. And that I think just shows you kind of the loyalty that is there from Tottenham fans through thick and through thin. I'm telling you, I don't think you would get that from other fans, and that's why I really want to feel the fact that I got emotional at full time and I had to leave at full time because it just upset me, just kind of the fact that we've been taken so advantage of. And you said, Jason, about the standards that have been allowed to slip. Don't forget who we are. Don't forget what we are. This club, near on 7-8 years ago, they were in a Champions League final. Whatever you think about how we got to the Champions League final, we did get to the Champions League final. And don't forget, there was a time not too long ago, this club was competing for the Premier League. We were competing for the league. So to have, like we've said, 2 back-to-back finishes of 17th, that's why there won't be celebration on this show, getting carried away about the fact we're staying up. It's a relief to stay up rather than a joy. Now, it has to be a severe warning to this ownership. And like you're saying, Jason, the first things I want to wake up to in these next day or so is the removal of Langer and Vinay. Because I think for a lot of fans out there, until even that is at the start of a process, it's very hard to feel that much is going to change. But look, I want to say my thanks to Luke. Thank you, mate. You've been a star throughout this season. Thank you. I think Luke might come back for the odd transfer episode or two. He might get a bit excited. I'm sure we will drive Adam Hotspur mad a little bit in terms of the finances. Now we're a Premier League club. And it would have been very different if I was asking ads, can we loan players off Coventry or loan? Oh, my God, Ad. We've got a lot of conversations that have been saved there. Jason, thank you, mate. Listen, thank you again to the wonderful audience. Make sure everybody out there, go have a wonderful summer if you're going to tune out the show and come back to us in August. But we'll still be here running around. A lot of shows to come this summer. The transfer window is not too far from opening. We can get a bit of excitement from Jason. Jace, thank you. From Luke, thank you. From Adam, thank you. We have been the last one on Spurs. Tottenham, they're safe. They are in the Premier League. From us all, keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.